Fordham, wake up.
He just leapt over the side. Oh, Upton. What's going on?
Goodness, Fordham. You look terrible. Is everything all right?
Just had some trouble sleeping. More than usual.
Well, I hope you've rested enough, because I've got something very important to show you.
Oh, wonderful. If we're sharing information now, are you going to tell Upton about me as well?
What is it?
There's been a murder.
So? People get killed every day in this city.
People, yes. Members of Parliament, no.
Oh, I see. Who's the victim?
A man named Percival McDonough. But this is the real corker. The murder is clearly the work of the Justice Killer.
The Justice Killer? Is that the mass murderer I've been hearing about?
The very same.
Why Justice Killer, though?
It's part of his modus operandi. He kills his victims with a single gunshot to the head, then writes the word justice somewhere in the room with the victim's blood.
Talk about melodramatic.
The police are stumped. This is the killer's 5th victim, and there isn't a single lead.
So you want me to investigate?
Not just yet. First, I need you to look at these sketches.
You took crime scene sketches from the department?
Of course not! I made copies with the station's Pharaoh duplicator. These killings need to stop, and I believe you can succeed where the department has so far failed.
So, what am I looking for?
The police went over each crime scene with a fine-toothed comb and turned up practically no useful physical evidence. I want a second opinion from you. If you can find some sort of link between them, it might be possible to track this monster down.
It's a shot in the dark. I can't guarantee I'll find anything that the police didn't see, but it's worth a look.
Here are the 4 sketches. Have a look at them and see if you notice anything that might help us find this maniac.
Whoever drew this was a hack. That looks more like a piece of toast than a flower. What's the point? It's not like you're actually going to be able to investigate this case. If only you hadn't told Adelaide about me, I might share my thoughts with you. As it is, you're on your own. I'm sure this is terribly relevant, but I've got nothing to say about it. I don't feel like looking at dead bodies right now. Is there something more exciting we could be doing? Oh, were you hoping for some witty insight? Shame, because you're not getting any. I'm really not in the mood to be analyzing crime scene sketches right now. Yeah, he's dead. Big deal. Boring. Boring, just like everything else in this sketch.
Interesting.
Oh, what? You actually found something without my help? I'm shocked. Boring. Wait, what's that? I see an important clue. Nah, just kidding. Maybe you should write crazy over your bed.
Upton?
What is it, Fordham?
About those crime scene sketches.
Yes?
I think I found a connection.
I knew you would. What is it?
There's a single flower at each crime scene. They look deliberately placed.
There is? Let me have a look. You're right. One lily at each scene.
Wait, what did you say?
These flowers, they're lilies. Easter lilies, I think.
I don't believe it!
Upton, this is incredible. This is the lead I've been searching for.
What? You mean for another case?
The flower shop burglar. He was stealing Easter lilies. And I distinctly remember him saying something about his desire to uphold justice. At the time, I thought it was just the rambling of a lunatic, but now it seems so obvious.
So the flower shop burglar is the justice killer?
It seems too much of a coincidence otherwise.
Well, then that's wonderful. You can kill two birds with one stone. Excellent work, Fordham. I knew you could do it.
What exactly are the details regarding this justice killer?
The killings began a few months ago, and so far he's claimed 5 victims. The department wanted to keep this information out of the public eye to prevent a panic, but word has gotten out. On the bright side, it makes your involvement in the case much less suspicious.
What are the details regarding the killer's latest victim?
As I mentioned, the victim is Percival McDonough, a member of parliament. He was found this morning by his secretary in his office. I expect the official investigation is still underway.
So the killer managed to get into the Houses of Parliament. No easy feat.
You can say that again. It's the killer's first high-profile victim. It means he's getting bolder.
I suppose I'll have to drop by and see for myself. What can you tell me about the previous victims?
4 men from Chumley: Hannibal Kirkland, Reggie Willingham, Ennis Bowditch, and Burley Cause. No known connection between any of them aside from the borough they lived in. I have copies of the police reports from each of the crime scenes. Go ahead and take them.
Thank you, Upton. I should get back to it.
Not a bad idea.
Right. I think I have enough information to get started. I think I'll begin with...
Odd. I wasn't expecting company. Chief Snelling?
Uh-oh.
Upton, we need to talk. Fordham, I should have guessed I'd find you here.
Ah, Chief Snelling. What a pleasant surprise.
I'm equally pleased to see you, Fordham, although having you here does save me a bit of trouble.
Trouble?
Those are some rather interesting decorations. Would either of you care to explain how they got here?
And once again, the jig is up. I hope you can talk your way out of this one, too.
I brought them here, after I made duplicates and took them from the police department.
Nice try, Fordham, but I know for a fact that isn't true. The Ferroduplicator makes a report of every employee who uses it, as well as what was copied. A rather useful feature for instances such as these. Wouldn't you agree?
These gadgets are going to be the undoing of us all.
In any case, I did some digging and discovered some intriguing information. Upton, why have you been passing on classified police information to Mr. Fordham?
Because he's the best detective you ever had on the force, and you know it.
Is that right? Personally, I don't consider getting your partner killed the mark of a great detective. But what's done is done. Constance Upton, your employment with the New Britannia Police Department is hereby terminated.
But
I should add that it's only because of your 25 years of dedicated service that I'm not pressing charges against you. But as for you, Fordham, I have enough evidence to place you under arrest for obstruction of justice and interfering with police investigations. Do you have anything to say in your defense before I take you in for questioning?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I do. I know who the Justice Killer is.
Fordham, if this is your idea of a diversion...
It's true. I found a link in the sketches of the crime scenes.
All right, let's hear it then. What do you think you found?
I'll tell you if you promise to let me take the case.
Out of the question, Fordham. This is a police matter.
and the police haven't made progress in months. Fordham figured it out in a matter of minutes. Admit it, Snelling. Fordham is your best shot at finding the killer. Are you gonna let your personal differences put the people of this city in danger?
Fine. I'll let you continue to operate as an assistant in this case, if you have actually found something of value. Now, what is this link?
He leaves a single Easter lily at each crime scene. The same type of flowers the burglar and the chum was stealing.
I see. A tenuous link, but plausible. I'll give you until tomorrow afternoon. If you haven't come up with anything, I'm throwing you in jail.
Sounds fair to me.
And don't get any clever ideas about leaving town, either.
Come now, would I do something like that?
Fordham, it seems there's no telling what you might do. I'm probably a fool for not clapping you in irons right here and now. When you have something to report, come find me in my office. Don't make me regret this.
Well, that went better than I expected.
Except you're still fired. I didn't have a chance to get him to change his mind.
We'll worry about that after you catch the killer. In the meantime, I could use a drink. I'll see you later, Fordham.
Well, better get to work then. The clock is ticking.
Fordham, what brings you to this delightful spectacle?
Hello, Edwards. I'm investigating the Justice Killer. I believe I've got a very promising lead.
I heard an officer mention new orders from Snelling, but I thought he was just pulling my leg. Feel free to have a look around. I'm just writing up the notes from my initial examination of the body, so I'll be happy to share my findings.
Good. I'll just get started then.
Nothing but a bunch of boring documents. You'd think he could have at least been considerate enough to keep something scandalous in here. Looks pretty fresh. I wonder what the killer uses to write with. These appear to be books on cryptography. I suppose everyone needs a hobby. Odd. The page for this month has been torn out. Do you suppose Edwards might know anything about that? The former Percival McDonough, being a good politician. Leave it to a politician to hang a portrait of himself in his own office. No signs of forced entry that I can see. The murderer didn't come in through this window.
Got a moment, Edwards?
Of course. What's on your mind?
Edwards, did you notice McDonough's desk calendar?
I did. This month has been torn out. I asked the officers investigating the scene, and they had no idea what happened to it.
So it wasn't found in this room?
That's right. My theory is that the killer took it.
Which means there was probably something incriminating written on it. If only there was some way of knowing what it was.
Miles, have you forgotten the oldest trick in the book? Just find a pencil and you'll have that information in no time.
Edwards, do you have a pencil I might borrow?
Of course. Take this one.
Thank you. So, what was found at the crime scene?
A dead body.
Edwards.
Hey, just trying to lighten the mood a bit. Anyway, there was also the word justice written in blood, as you can see on the floor there.
Is that all?
What more do you need? All the pieces are in place. This is the work of the justice killer.
Did you find an Easter lily anywhere?
An Easter lily?
Yes, the justice killer leaves one at every crime scene.
Is that right? I never noticed.
Neither did anyone else, apparently.
So how does leaving a lily at the scene of the crime figure into all of this?
I'm still trying to figure that out, but I think it might be important to understanding his motive.
Well, be sure to let me know if you do figure it out. The thought process of killers is a twisted, curious thing.
That's all for now, Edwards.
Good luck with your investigation.
A classic trick. Let's see if it works. Intriguing. We'll need to find out who this Ruby is. Aha! McDonough met with this person the night of the murder. I'll bet 500 crowns it's a false name, but at least it's something. It seems the killer didn't want anyone to know about this meeting with McDonough, and possibly not with Ruby either.
Got a moment, Edwards?
Of course. What's on your mind?
What did your examination of the body turn up?
Apparent cause of death was a single gunshot to the head, exactly like all the other victims. The bullet is still lodged in his brain. I'll remove it once I transport the body back to the mortuary.
Anything else?
No personal effects of note, just a folded up piece of paper in his breast pocket. It's blank, so the police weren't interested. I assume you aren't either.
Never assume, Edwards. I'll take it if you don't mind.
Be my guest.
That's all for now, Edwards.
Good luck with your investigation.
Fordham, how goes the investigation?
I'm making some headway.
Is that right? I certainly hope so for your sake.
The rumor was always that the chief kept a bottle of something in a secret compartment in this cabinet. In Snelling's case, it's probably just water. Every book and file in there is organized to perfection. I'll bet Snelling gets flustered if anything is even a millimeter out of place. You should bump into the side when he's not looking.
Chief Snelling?
Yes, Fordham?
Listen, about Leger's death.
I don't want to hear it, Fordham. What happened, happened. Nothing you can say is going to change my opinion on the matter.
And if I manage to find the man responsible?
The man responsible is standing before me. Even if you manage to find the culprit you let escape, it isn't going to bring Leger back from the dead.
But it will bring closure to the matter.
If that thought is what allows you to sleep at night, then so be it.
What makes him think you sleep at night?
What information do you have on the justice killer?
Clearly not as much as you.
I see how this is gonna go.
Well, what do you have?
A list of 5 victims, some information on each of them, and no clear idea what connects them. Until your discovery of the lily at each scene, that was where we stood. While I doubt this discovery will do much to aid in tracking him down, I'm willing to give you the benefit of the doubt.
Do you know anything about Percival McDonough?
He's a member of Parliament. I believe his constituency is somewhere in central Kingsland. From the reports I've gotten, McDonough led a rather unassuming life for a politician. He is, however, the first victim who didn't live in Chumley. Either there's a link we've missed, or the killer is changing his method. Then again, since you seem so confident in your abilities to resolve this matter, I assume you'll provide an explanation.
Count on it. So I see the department is still running like a well-oiled machine.
It is, in fact. But I'm sure Upton has kept you well informed of our activities. Incidentally, the woman accused in the Harris kidnapping is set to testify in court today.
Linda Walker's trial is today? That was fast.
Indeed. Sometimes the wheels of justice grind slowly. Sometimes they spin out of control. She'll be taking the stand within the hour. If you care to hear her for yourself, best get going soon.
What do you know about the Justice Killer's previous victims?
Only what's in their files. All working men from Chumley. That's the only link.
You didn't look further into their personal lives? Maybe they had some social connection.
As I said, the detectives found nothing. You seem to think you can do better, so I'll leave it up to you.
You have to wonder how much more thorough the department's investigations would have been if the 4 men were all rich like McDonough.
I need to get back to my investigation.
Yes, time is not on your side, Fordham.
Remind me, Miles, why are we here again? Is this for your own personal satisfaction, or did you expect her to have some useful information?
Shh! Mrs. Linda Walker, you stand accused of kidnapping Charles Harris. What have you to say in your defense?
I had to see if I could speak with my son Alexander again.
Yes. According to your initial statement, you seem to believe that the Harris child is the reincarnation of your own deceased son.
All the evidence was there. I thought it had to be him.
And in regards to the execution of your plan, you secretly administered a soporific drug to your friend and the Harris family nanny, Mrs. Henrietta Davis? Is that correct?
Yes. I felt terrible about doing it, but there was no other way.
According to your journal, you used a mixture of chamomile and valerian, instructed by a Samuel, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. Samuel is a friend of mine. He works at the docks, and he knows all about plants. I asked him what the best combination of herbs would be to put someone in a deep sleep.
So it was your idea, and not his?
Yes, that's right. He only told me about the plants. He's quite the expert. Why, you should see his collection of Easter lilies.
Did she just say what I think she said?
Now then, let's turn our attention to the night in question.
Interesting. This Samuel person might be worth looking into, although we can't waste time searching the docks with just a first name. I'd make a note of it, just in case it becomes relevant later. All right, I've had enough of this courtroom. Let's get back out there. Time's running out.
Chief Snelling?
Yes, Fordham?
Enjoying your new position, Snelling?
Reaping the rewards for years of hard work and dedicated service. A gratifying feeling you'll never be able to experience.
Oh, I get my gratification in other ways.
I'm sure you do, and I'd honestly rather not know about them.
I need to get back to my investigation.
Yes, time is not on your side, Fordham.
Got a moment, Edwards?
Of course. What's on your mind?
Did the police manage to learn anything during their investigation?
Not much beyond what I've already told you. I think they were planning on speaking to the victim's wife, though.
Did you get the address?
I did, as a matter of fact. 1820 Kent Place.
Now we get to deal with the grieving widow. Hopefully the officers who delivered the news got the worst of it.
What's your take on this whole justice killer situation?
It's giving me a lot of extra work, let me tell you. We haven't had a serial murderer in a long time. Not since that fellow who was poisoning people about 10 years ago.
Ah, yes. Gascon Ghoul. Now there was a case.
Any theories or insights regarding the killer's motive or identity?
That's not really my specialty. If you want to get into that psychology stuff, you're better off talking to someone like Snelling.
That's all for now, Edwards.
Good luck with your investigation.
What? Who are you?
I'm Miles Fordham, private investigator. Your butler just announced me.
Oh, of course. Forgive me. I was just, well, never mind. Please make yourself comfortable, Mr. Fordham.
Thank you, Mrs. McDonough.
They look expensive, but I bet they're totally worthless. I feel sorry for the sucker who has to clean them. Just a painting of some boring old aristocrat. Surely this one was called Lady Felicity Euphemia Beaversnatch the Simple. Lord Alfred Edward Shufflebottom the Wise comes to mind when looking at this one. This one looks like a Lady Camilla Prudence Wigglewaddle the Grey. I think I'll call this one Lord Edmund Henry Lickspittle the Elder. They look expensive, but I bet...
I appreciate you seeing me, Mrs. McDonough. I know you must be going through a difficult time right now.
What exactly is it you want from me, Mr. Fordham? I already spoke to the police about my husband's murder.
I just have a few questions of my own.
Oh, very well.
Are you familiar with someone named Ruby?
I can't say I am. Who is it?
Just a name that's come up in my investigation.
Sounds like the name of a trollop, or perhaps a dog.
Do you know anyone named Shackley?
No, I've never heard that name before. Why?
I saw your husband had a meeting scheduled with him shortly before his murder.
That can't be right. He didn't tell me about that. He always told me about his meetings.
It was written on his office calendar, clear as day.
As I said, I don't know who that person is. Why wouldn't Percival have told me about their meeting?
Why indeed?
Are you familiar with the art of cryptography, Mrs. McDonough?
What an odd question.
It's just I noticed several books on the subject in your husband's office.
Oh, well, yes. Percival was interested in cryptography and secret messages and the like. He would sometimes leave me coded notes when we first began courting many years ago.
What kind of notes?
Oh, now, Mr. Fordham, those were private. But Percival got a thrill out of knowing I was the only one who could read them. Sometimes he would write them using a special ink that would only appear when the paper was heated. I can't remember the last time he did that, though.
What can you tell me about your husband?
I'll tell you the same thing I told the police, Mr. Fordham. Percival was one of the hardest working members of Parliament. He took his job extremely seriously. The recent election caused him a terrible amount of consternation, as I'm sure it did most people. He took Atwood's loss rather hard.
Did you see much of him?
I beg your pardon?
Surely someone with such an important position in government could find themselves consumed by their work. Did he spend much time at home?
He made it a point to come home and have dinner with me every night, even if he had to return to the office afterwards.
And did that happen often?
At least 3 or 4 times in a week, yes. He'd stay in his office working late into the night. As I said, he was very dedicated to his role.
Sounds to me like she's quite dedicated to hers, too.
Did your husband have any enemies?
He was a politician, Mr. Fordham. Half the city hated him.
Did he ever receive any kind of threats against his life?
None that I was ever made aware of. I have no idea who could have killed him, let alone who could have gotten into his office to do it. He hadn't told me about any meetings or appointments this week either.
Was it his custom to inform you of his work affairs?
Oh, well, I've always taken an interest in my husband's work. He'd often mention initiatives he was working on or people he was meeting, that sort of thing. Nothing sensitive or confidential, you understand. Just conversation about his day.
Those are all the questions I have for now, Mrs. McDonough.
All right, Mr. Fordham.
If this actually works, I'll eat my hat. Well, I'll be damned.
Can we talk some more, Mrs. McDonough?
I suppose so, yes.
Do you know anything about this letter?
I'm afraid I don't have my spectacles. What is it?
The coroner found it in your husband's pocket. He gave it to me because he thought it was blank. But after you told me about your husband's propensity for writing secret messages, I decided to try exposing the paper to heat. Allow me to read it to you. Dearest Mary, words cannot express the regret and sorrow I feel for how I acted last night. I swore to myself I would never harm you again after the last time, but I have failed us both. It is my deepest hope that you can forgive me and trust that I will never allow this monster out again.
I see. May I have that letter, Mr. Fordham?
I'm afraid I have to keep it for now. It's evidence.
I suppose that does make sense.
Mrs. McDonough, did Percival mistreat or abuse you?
He wasn't a bad man, Mr. Fordham. I wouldn't have married him if he was. It's just the stress of his responsibilities would sometimes oppress him. I would try and offer comfort, soothe his nerves. But there were a few instances where he lost control of his passions.
Did he ever hit you?
He did.
How many times did this happen?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe 2 or 3. You don't exactly count these things.
What a bastard. Maybe it serves him right for getting shot.
Thank you for your candor, Mrs. McDonough.
Can we please talk about something else?
Can you think of any reason why your husband would have been murdered?
Not really. He was a vocal opponent of the construction of the Gascogne-Chumley Bridge, but I hardly think that would have been sufficient reason to drive someone to murder.
Why is that?
Well, it's just a bridge, isn't it? There are plenty of other ways to get to Chumley.
I meant, why was he opposed to it?
Oh, because the amount of money required to build it is exorbitant. Public funds should be used on roads and buildings that are falling apart. What's the point of having something shiny and new if everything around it is in disrepair?
Those are all the questions I have for now, Mrs. McDonough.
All right, Mr. Fordham.
No need to talk to him just now.
Got a moment, Edwards?
Of course. What's on your mind?
Does it feel good to be out of the office?
As long as I have the chance to examine a body and learn something in the process, I don't care where I am. Though I do admit a preference to working in my own environment. Fieldwork can be a bit uncertain. There's so much more potential for contamination, especially with those clumsy officers trouncing about groping everything. Present company excluded, of course.
That's all for now, Edwards.
Good luck with your investigation.
Hello again, Mr. Fordham.
Can we talk some more, Mrs. McDonough?
I suppose so, yes.
How are you feeling, Mrs. McDonough?
My husband of 42 years was shot in his office. How do you think I feel?
Tactful as always, Fordham. How do you do it?
My apologies. Perhaps that wasn't the most appropriate question. Is there anything I can do to help?
You can start by finding the monster who murdered Percival.
Have you heard of the Justice Killer?
That was the name the police mentioned when they told me about Percival's murder. It's absolutely terrifying to think that one sick person could be capable of such evil. Why is he called the Justice Killer? What justice was done by murdering my husband?
I'm afraid I can't answer that right now, Mrs. McDonough, but I intend to find out. Those are all the questions I have for now, Mrs. McDonough.
All right, Mr. Fordham.
No need to talk to him just now. Thank God. There hasn't been much need for umbrellas lately. Should have listened to your mother. You should have practiced. Interesting place for a flower. Way to ruin a perfectly good wall. I bet that'll take ages to clean up. Whew, that's not a pretty sight. That flower adds a nice touch to an otherwise drab apartment. Too bad about the body, though. Must have been a powerful shot to knock him backwards like that. Must have been a Not a very pretty way to go out. I wonder if he was trying to get something from that safe. The flower certainly brings the room together. Pretty flower, but is there really anything special about it? At least this poor slob got to die in bed. The Justice Killer. Therein lies Upton's. A good old reliable hansom cab. Nothing fancy, just gets you from point A to point B, the way it should be. Remember, a black eye is not a badge of honor. Anyone picking a fight will be dismissed immediately. Well, that's hardly any fun, is it? I thought about a career as a mechanic once. Glad I chose police work. Way less messy.
Good evening.
Evening to you, sir. If you're looking for a job, I'm afraid we're currently all booked up.
No, actually, I was wondering if I might ask you a few questions.
Shouldn't be a problem.
Did you know Reggie Willingham?
Reggie? Sure, I knew him. Well, just as rather I didn't.
Oh? Why do you say that?
The man was a bore, a scoundrel, a no-good bounder.
I wish he would tell us how he really felt.
Only reason they kept him on here was because he was a good driver.
So it's fair to say you didn't like him?
Nobody did. When I heard he'd been killed, it wasn't exactly a surprise. If I treated people the way he did, I'd surely have a lot of enemies.
Could you elaborate a bit on Mr. Willingham's behavior?
Oh, he was a proud one. Thought he was God's gift to mankind. Always strutting around, bragging about how many gratuities he'd earned or how many fist fights he'd won against drivers from Phillips. He had the shortest fuse I've ever seen, too. Just looking at him the wrong way could set him off. I'd always laugh to myself when he'd brag about how many women he'd had in a week.
Why is that?
Because it was obvious he had to pay for the pleasure. A man like that isn't going to get a woman otherwise.
I appreciate your time, sir.
Pleasure's all mine.
You there! What are you doing?
I'm Miles Fordham. I'm trying to find out about...
No time for that now! Get in here and shield your eyes!
I beg your pardon?
Just do it!
What's going on exactly?
Shh!
Everything ready, Alex?
3, 2, 1, go! Amazing! It works! It works!
What works?
Etheric lamps! Our experiment was a success!
What exactly have we wandered into here, Miles? Just a bunch of crap they used to build street lamps with. I wouldn't get too close to that thing. It might end up turning you inside out. So this is where all the lamps in the city come from. I can't believe I never bothered finding out before.
May I ask you a few questions?
Of course! What would you like to know?
You worked with a man named Burley Cause, is that right?
Yes, I heard he was killed. Such a senseless tragedy. It's a shame he missed out on our demonstration. He was really interested in etheric technology.
Wasn't he concerned about losing his job to these technological advances?
He had no reason to. It's been made clear to all the workers that there will always be a place for us, even if our jobs are made obsolete. Unlike some other places, we take care of our own here at the Lamplight Depot.
How noble. But I'm pretty sure he's full of more hot air than the HMS Lenore.
Is there anything you know about Mr. Cause's personal life that might be relevant?
I know he was married, but I don't believe he had any children. Oh, and he used to talk about his love for fishing.
Could you give me his home address? Perhaps his wife will be willing to speak with me.
Yes, certainly. He lived at 820 Orchard Avenue, apartment 2A.
Thank you for the information. Do you know any details about Mr. Cause's murder?
Unfortunately, I don't. The police were here asking questions, but they didn't give me many details.
Do you know of anyone who might have wanted him dead?
Not at all. Burley was very friendly, always treated everyone around here with respect. You know, it's sad to think that for all our leaps forward, we're still really just a bunch of savages.
Thank you. Your cooperation is much appreciated.
Happy to help.
Apartment 2A. This is the place. The number is a bit faded. Is this 2B? Or is it not 2B? That's the question. And I thought the housekeeping in my apartment was bad. There doesn't seem to be anyone at home.
Yeah? May I help you, young man?
Hello, madam. My name is Miles Fordham, and I'm a private investigator. I have some questions about your neighbor.
You mean my former neighbor?
Yes. In any case, I'd appreciate it if you could help me with some information.
Nah, I don't think so. The last person to ask me about him was that awful policeman. I don't want to have to go through that again.
I'm sorry you had a bad experience, but I can assure you I won't give you a hard time.
Well, that's easy for you to say, but actions speak louder than words.
Uh-oh. I think I know where this is going.
Is there anything I can do for you then?
Well, since you asked, my layabout husband is out wasting our retirement fund with his drinking. Go find him and bring him back here. Then maybe we can talk.
Oh, wonderful. Now we're playing babysitter.
You'll find him at the Silent Raven. It's not too far from here.
Yes, I know it.
Good. My husband's name is Kurt Williamson. You tell him his wife Ethel wants him home at once.
I'll do my best, Mrs. Williamson. Excuse me, are you Kurt Williamson?
That's right. Who are you?
Miles Fordham. I'm a private investigator.
Oh, yeah? What is it you want from me?
Ethel sent me to tell you she wants you to come home right away.
I should have known. I can't get away for more than a few hours before she's put the entire city on high alert. How much of my retirement fund did she waste on getting you to come down here?
I'm only doing this because I need some information.
The joke's on you, then. You can just go back and tell her I'll come home when I'm damn well ready.
Why is it you're so averse to returning home?
I enjoy going out and having a good time. Is that so wrong?
Your wife told me she doesn't like you spending your money on drink.
What I spend my money on is none of her business, and even less of yours. What's this world coming to when a man can't even drink in peace without all his affairs shouted from the rooftops?
You know, this whole situation seems awfully familiar.
Listen, Mr. Williamson, I think I know what you're going through.
Oh, yeah?
My wife and I were having a rough patch. I wasn't being honest with her, and it nearly drove us apart.
But you managed to fix things.
Yes, I was fortunate. I did the right thing before it was too late.
And what did you do?
It was simple. I just communicated honestly and openly with her. I told her what was wrong and how I was feeling. And you know what? She listened. Have you ever told Ethel why you like going out?
No. I assumed she wouldn't understand. I really wish she would come out with me, but I know she'd never agree.
How do you know? Have you actually talked to her about this?
Well, No.
Well, then maybe you should. If she knew you wanted company, she might just give it a try.
You know, I never thought of it like that. I'm going to go home right now and tell her. And if she refuses, well, at least I asked, right?
That's the spirit.
Thanks for the advice, friend. I really do appreciate it.
Not bad. I have to say, I'm impressed.
Ah, Mr. Fordham, thank you so much for getting Kurt back home.
Don't mention it. Now, would you be willing to answer some questions?
Why, yes, of course.
Tell me what you know about Burley Cause.
He and his wife hadn't been living next door very long, maybe 4 months or so. But I didn't talk to either of them very much. They weren't interested in being neighborly, I guess. It's a shame, really. Maybe if we had known one another better, something like this could have been prevented.
What happened on the day Mr. Cause was killed?
I was here, at home, doing my knitting as usual. All of a sudden, I heard a loud bang. It sounded like a gunshot. I went and knocked on Mrs. Cause's door, but there was no answer. I did notice a smell, though, like flowers. Something seemed wrong, so I decided to report the incident to the police. Not long after that, an officer showed up and started asking questions. Awful man he was, so rude. I could report him, but I forgot his name. I think it started with a P.
Parsons?
Yes, that's him. He called for some more officers and they got into the apartment. That's when I found out Mr. Cause had been murdered.
Where is Mrs. Cause now?
I don't know, with her mother maybe. That's usually how it goes.
You wouldn't happen to know where that is, would you?
Afraid not, but there is one other thing.
Yes?
Don't say I told you this, but, well, I used to hear the two of them through my wall. I tried ignoring it since it's really none of my business, but it became impossible.
What was it you heard?
I don't believe they had a happy marriage. They'd have awful fights a couple times a week.
What would they fight about?
Oh, all sorts of things. The worst one was when she discovered he was going to a brothel. I think he might have hit her on a few occasions, too, but I can't be certain. I hope you don't think me a horrible old gossip, but I thought you might like to know.
Not at all. I'm glad you told me. I appreciate your time, Mrs. Williamson.
Have a good day, Mr. Fordham.
There doesn't seem to be any... Well, that doesn't look good. This place sure is big. I wonder if they actually make anything useful.
Excuse me, sir. Are you in charge here?
Unfortunately. Who are you? This area isn't open to the public.
I'm Miles Fordham, and I'm a private investigator looking into the murder of one of your workers.
Private investigator, eh? Then maybe you can help me out.
I'll do what I can, but I'll need to ask you some questions, Mr.
Mims. Sanford Mims. Go ahead, but make it snappy.
What can you tell me about Hannibal Kirkland? A former employee here?
Listen, I've got a lot on my mind right now.
I understand, but it's important to my investigation that you tell me what you know about him.
I'm sure it is, but as you can see, I've got a lot to deal with right now.
Well, he's no help. Maybe you can figure out a way to help him help us.
What happened to your iron mill?
What's it look like? The damn thing went and got blown up.
Was it in disrepair?
Of course not. All my machinery is sound, checked and serviced regularly. This is the work of those goddamn Redites. I'm sure of it.
What makes you certain the explosion was the Redites doing?
Take a look, boy. The whole mill got taken out. Even if this had been a mechanical failure, which it wasn't, the explosion would have been contained to a single part of the machine. This couldn't have been anything other than sabotage.
Have you had problems with the Redites before?
They've sent anonymous letters, but this is the first time they've actually carried out one of their threats.
You're absolutely sure this was sabotage, then?
Yes. How many times have I got to tell you that? Listen, you said you were an investigator, right? So find out who did this to my machine. If you do, I'll help you out with whatever else you wanted to ask me about.
Looks like we haven't got much of a choice. He seems pretty upset about his machine.
I'll see what I can do. I'll be going now.
Be careful on your way out.
Completely ruined. Whoever sabotaged this knew what they were doing.
Hey, that area is for workers only.
My apologies.
This place sure is big.
Mr. Mims, a word if you wouldn't mind?
Yes, what is it?
Are you sure you can't tell me anything about Hannibal Kirkland?
It's like I've told you. I've got to deal with this mess. I don't have time for your questions.
How long have you been the foreman here?
Sometimes I think it's been too long. Things were so much easier before we got these machines. They keep saying they're supposed to improve our lives, but they've been nothing but trouble. I've already had 5 of my best men get mangled by some of them. And then there's these damn fools blowing things up. My hair wasn't this gray 5 years ago, you know. I swear one of these days, I'm just going to pack it all up and retire. Let someone else deal with these damn things.
I'll be going now.
Be careful on your way out.
Completely ruined. Safe for only 25 men at once. I used to draw the line at 2. Huh, they seem to be making pretty decent progress. I wonder if it would be any fun to tie yourself to that thing and go for a few spins.
Excuse me.
Hey, what are you doing here? This is a construction area.
I'm Miles Fordham, a private investigator. I'm looking into the murder of a man who used to work here.
Fordham? You the same man who got Laura Dupre arrested?
Yes, that's right.
Ah, good to meet you. I'm Gerard. My sister Amelie used to work as her cook. Would tell me stories about how horrible Dupre was. Good to see some justice done for a change.
Glad to be of service. And good to meet you as well, Gerard.
So you say you looking into a murder? You talking about Bowditch?
Yes, that's right. I had a few questions for you, if you don't mind.
Nah, should be okay to talk for a few minutes.
You worked with Ennis Bowditch, right? What can you tell me about him?
Ennis was fun to talk to, always telling stories. Pretty sure most of them were made up. But it made time go by faster while we worked, and he made me laugh. We weren't really friends, but it's duller without him around, you know?
Do you know what Bowditch did on his off time?
Not really. I only saw him on the job. But I know he was seeing a woman. I forget what he said her name was, though.
Did he mention anything else about her?
Oh, sure, but I don't think they're the type of thing that would help you, if you get my meaning.
Right. Anything of a non-personal nature that might help me find her?
Yes, he mentioned she worked as the serving girl at the ruined coffee house.
I see. Thanks. Would you happen to know anything about the Redites?
I heard some of the other men talking about them, but I don't ask too many questions. Seems to me they just a bunch of angry and confused people with no other way to express themselves than lashing out. I admit I feel sorry for them.
You're not worried about Steam Tech putting you out of a job?
Nah. Machines can only do so much. You still need a man to make them work or to fix them when they're broke. I think them Redites are just making a big fuss over nothing.
How's your sister doing?
Good. She still works for the Dupre family, but with that monster Laura gone, she's much happier. She tells me the family is acting like the madame never existed, and the husband raised Amelie's pay, too.
That does sound like an improvement.
It's just a shame 2 others had to die for it.
Do you know any details concerning Bowditch's murder?
I only found out when the boss man told us.
Can you think of anyone who might have wanted him dead?
Well, everyone here liked him. I don't think he owed no one money or nothing like that. But maybe someone at his other job wasn't so friendly with him. Who knows?
Other job?
Ennis also worked at the docks as a longshoreman.
Well, that would have been handy to know sooner. Better late than never, I guess.
Thank you, Gerard. I appreciate the information.
Not a problem, boss.
Begging your pardon, miss.
How can I help you, sir?
I understand you were involved with Ennis Bowditch.
Was involved, yes. I haven't spoken to him in nearly 2 months.
Oh, were you not aware of his death then?
What? Ennis is dead?
Well, this is awkward.
Indeed. I'm sorry to have to be the bearer of bad news.
How did it happen?
I'm afraid he was murdered.
Murdered? By who? And why?
Those are exactly the questions I'm trying to answer myself.
Oh, I see. Are you a detective?
A private investigator, yes.
Well, I'll answer what I can, if it helps any, that is.
I'm certain it will. What was your relationship with Mr. Bowditch like?
Oh, well, it was nice at first. He was a proper gentleman-like. But then something changed.
Oh?
It's like I told Ruby. I think he might have got hit on the head at work, because he seemed to be a completely different person. He'd get angry for no reason. He even... Well, that bit's not important. At first, I thought he was just going through some rough times, but after a while I realized he'd changed for the worse. So I broke things off. He wasn't too happy about it, but I wasn't going to stick with a man like that.
This friend of yours, Ruby, did she know an MP named Percival McDonough?
I'm not sure. Ruby knows a lot of men.
Is that so?
Well, no, I don't mean... It's just... Oh, damn it all, me and my big mouth. She'll have my guts for garters now.
It's all right. No one's in trouble. But I think I'd like to speak with Ruby. Could you tell me where I can find her?
No. You see, she moves around quite a lot. Never in the same place for more than a night or two.
Right. I think she's given us a clear picture of what Ruby does for a living. Normally, I'd be all for pressing this girl more until she cracks, but I like her. I think we'll be able to find Ruby without causing her more discomfort.
Well, thank you for the information. You've been very helpful. I'll let you get back to work.
Thank you, sir.
Asleep at a coffee house. This sign could use a fresh coat of paint. Blank surfaces don't stay that way for very long around here.
Huh? What? Who is it?
Hello, sir. I was wondering if I could ask you a few questions.
Go ahead, but make it quick. Time is money, after all.
Did you employ a man named Ennis Bowditch?
I did, yes. He only worked for me occasionally, but he was always punctual and performed his job well. I learned recently that he had been killed. It was a tremendous shame. Workers of his caliber are so hard to come by.
Do you have any information relating to Mr. Bowditch's murder?
I'm afraid not. The truth is, I knew very little about him. It's the same with most of my men. I have a business to run, you see. It affords me very little time to socialize.
What does your work here involve?
I'm in charge of tracking and cataloging all the cargo that passes through here. I receive the shipping manifest and make sure that things get unloaded and sent to the right places.
And you do all this by yourself?
Oh, of course not. I'm in charge of administration. A team of workers does all the heavy lifting.
Thank you for your time. I'll let you return to work.
Right, you are.
Trevor Hastings, is that you?
Why, Detective Fordham. Fancy seeing you again. What brings you down to the docks?
I'm trying to track down a serial murderer, who I believe is the same man who was breaking into the flower shop.
You don't say. I wish I could help you, but the guy never came back after the night you and your partner came around. Where is your partner anyway?
Oh, he's around.
Well, give him my regards. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to get this crate back, or Cecilia will have my head on a platter.
Of course. Good seeing you again.
He's around? That's probably the most clever thing you've said in months. Well done. Ah, the chum. You can never truly get away from it as much as you may try.
Keep up the good work, Mr. Hastings.
Hello again, Mr. Fordham.
Probably best to leave. No time to waste with further conversation right now. You've got a killer to find.
Chief Snelling?
Yes, Fordham?
Have you got any information on the Redites?
The Redites? That ridiculous gang of troublemakers? Yes, I have some information. What's your interest in them?
A witness is refusing to speak with me unless I can figure out who sabotaged his iron mill.
I see. All I can offer is a list of names of known Redites along with their last known whereabouts. But I remind you that you only have until tomorrow afternoon before this indulgence expires, and I throw you in jail. This seems like a waste of time.
That's my decision to make.
Very well. I'll give you the list when you're ready to leave.
I need to get back to my investigation.
Yes. Time is not on your side, Fordham. Here you are. This is the most recent list of known Redites.
This is a lot of names. If we're going to track down this saboteur, it might be best to retire to a more tranquil environment. Fancy a trip back to Upton's? Right, this should be a quiet enough spot to concentrate on finding that saboteur. I just hope Upton doesn't mind you turning her parlor into your own personal study.
I'm sure she'll have no objection. Now, let's have a look at that list again.
It's possible that this is who we're looking for, but without some way to be absolutely sure, we're in danger of wasting precious time.
I'm not usually the gambling type, but a 1 in 3 chance doesn't strike me as the best odds.
If dead men could cause explosions, let's just say things would be a lot different. This clearly isn't the right suspect. This might be who we're looking for, but it also might not be.
We could pay him a visit. Who knows? We might get lucky.
This might be who we're looking for.
No harm in paying him a visit.
Unless Mr. McKee has escaped from prison, which I highly doubt, he's not our man. I think we can rule out Mr. Sullivan as a suspect. He's Western Vespuccia's problem now. This might be who we're looking for, but it also might not be.
No harm in paying him a visit, except losing time in our other investigation.
It's possible that this is who we're looking for, but without some way to be absolutely sure, we're in danger of wasting precious time.
I'm not usually the gambling type, but a 1 in 3 chance doesn't strike me as the best odds.
Well, well, who's this lovely specimen?
Allow me to introduce Peyton Ferguson, known Redite and prime suspect in a sabotage at the Thorbum Ironworks. I picked him up and brought him straight to you.
Ooh, a saboteur. Just leave him to me and I'll make him feel right at home.
Please find the Justice Killer soon, Miles. Being Giles' prisoner is not my idea of a good time.
Right. I'll leave you to it then. Begging your pardon, miss.
How can I help you?
Are you familiar with the Justice Killer?
Justice Killer? Is that some kind of pesticide?
No, it isn't. Never mind. You've been working here for quite a while, haven't you?
I have, yes. Coming up on 3 years. Been a real pleasure getting to know all the regulars. They've come to be sort of like a second family. By the way, whatever happened with you and your lady friend?
I beg your pardon?
Oh, that nice lady you met in here a couple of times. Did it work out between the two of you?
Oh, that? No, that was strictly business.
Right. Well, if you see her, tell her I said hello.
I'll let you get back to work.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Mims, a word if you wouldn't mind?
Yes, what is it?
I found the person responsible for sabotaging your iron mill.
Oh, yeah?
His name is Peyton Ferguson. He's currently at the Bow Street Jail.
Hey, not bad. I owe you one, Detective.
He certainly does.
What can you tell me about Hannibal Kirkland?
Good worker. Mostly kept to himself. Real shame what happened to him.
Do you know if anyone here disliked Kirkland?
Enough to want him dead? Nah. There's the occasional scrap, but everyone around here gets along for the most part. Like I said, he mostly kept to himself. Head down, didn't bother nobody.
Do you know what he did outside of work?
No idea. I only ever saw him here.
You said Kirkland was a good worker?
One of my best. I knew something was up when he didn't show up for a couple of days. Don't think he'd ever missed work before.
Did he have any personal effects he kept here, or an area where he worked?
He had a cabinet downstairs in the workers' changing area, just like everyone else. You can go take a look if you want, but I don't think the police found anything. Kirkland's cabinet is the third one from the left.
I'll be going now.
Be careful on your way out.
At least having a heater down here manages to keep things warm. I remember the changing rooms at the police station were always ice cold. Just another unmarked storage cabinet.
Mr. Mims?
Yeah?
Would you happen to know the combination to Hannibal Kirkland's cabinet?
No. Every worker sets their own combination, and I don't ask for it.
What happens if they were to forget it?
Well, I have them come up with some sort of personal reminder and keep those in a file.
And do you still have Kirkland's?
I'll give it to you as soon as we're done talking.
I'll be going now.
Be careful on your way out. There you go. You're lucky I only clean out my files at the end of the year.
See, I always told you I wasn't disorganized. Just preparing for the future.
Mr.
Yeah.
I'll be
Be careful.
Sounds like there's someone in there. If you weren't so bashful, I'd suggest joining in. You could certainly use it. At least having a heater down... Empty. That's disappointing.
Not completely empty. There's something at the bottom here.
It seems our friend Hannibal had a few extracurricular activities after all.
Gilded lily, huh? That's a bit suspicious.
Who knew such a pretty flower could cause such an inconvenience? The answer to that question is me, in case you were wondering. Flowers bring nothing but trouble. Trouble and snot.
That's enough, Bill. I need to get a move on.
Well, hello there, handsome. Welcome to the Gilded Lily. Come over here and tell me what kind of pleasure it is you're looking for.
I'm afraid I'm here for business, not pleasure.
Oh, well, that's just a shame, isn't it?
I'm Miles Fordham, private investigator. And you are?
You can call me Serafina. I'm in charge of this establishment.
You won't mind if I take a look around or ask you some questions?
As long as you keep to the front room, you can do whatever you like. Beyond that, you're gonna have to pay.
Maybe it's best if you leave this part out when you tell Adelaide about the case later. What a charming statue. Wouldn't she get cold fetching water in that state of undress? You certainly won't find art like that at the National Gallery. Oh, my virgin eyes! I'm not too familiar with places like this, but I believe that's where the fun happens, if you've got the crowns for it. Looks nervous. Wonder if this is his first time.
May I ask you a few questions, Serafina?
Of course you may, but I can't guarantee the answers will be free.
Do you by chance have a girl named Ruby in your service?
Ruby? Yes, she's one of our newest girls. She's not in any sort of trouble, is she?
Not at all. I merely wanted to speak with her.
Well, she should be in the dressing room. If you go through the rear door and follow the hallway down, it's the last door on the left.
I see. Thank you. Did you have a man named Hannibal Kirkland as a client?
I make it my practice not to learn the names of any customers here, Mr. Fordham. I hate to disappoint anyone who comes through those doors, but discretion is paramount in this business.
Well, at least you know you can trust these women with your secrets.
This is a lovely establishment you have, and such a nice name, too.
Thank you, my dear. It wasn't always called the Gilded Lily, though. We were formerly known as La Maison de Tolérance.
What inspired the name change?
That's a bit of a long story. Not worth getting into.
How long have you been operating?
Going on 25 years. Business has been good. There's a reason this is the world's oldest profession, you know.
Did you know Percival McDonough?
The politician? I knew who he was, but never met him personally.
He was seeing Ruby, wasn't he?
Not regularly, no. In fact, his first and only visit with her was yesterday.
Were you aware that he was murdered shortly after that?
I had no idea. How terrible.
Yes, it is terrible. This means she's lost a potential repeat customer.
So, how did you get into this business?
Like many of the other girls, it was the best of some bad options. I had no interest in being beholden to a husband. I may be a fallen woman, but better to fly and fall than to have your wings clipped.
Do you enjoy the work?
It's a job like any other, Mr. Fordham. There are good days and there are bad days. But my girls are my family. We take care of each other. I couldn't ask for anything better.
Thank you for your time.
Of course, my dear.
Oh, hello. Did Serafina send you back here for me?
Yes, but not for the usual reasons. I'm a private investigator. My name is Miles Fordham. Ruby, I presume?
Yes, that's right. What do you need from me?
Just some information.
Well, I'll do my best.
The girls here don't get much in the way of a dressing area. Still, something is better than nothing, I suppose. The girls here don't... Lily, 1809 to 1843. I wonder what happened to her. That's a nice locket for being such a cheap piece of jewelry. No lilies? Seems like a missed opportunity. Cut down in her prime. I can relate. I'm guessing this is where most of the girls keep their personal belongings. Doesn't seem to offer much in the way of privacy.
So, Ruby,
Yes?
that's a rather nice portrait. Who's the subject?
Oh, that's Lily. Before my time. Serafina knows loads about her. Even changed the name of this place in her honor. You might try asking her if you want to know more.
You met recently with Percival McDonough, is that right?
How did you know that? I thought he was meant to keep those sorts of things private.
He had your name written down in his calendar.
And you found me here based on that?
Well, I am a detective.
Suppose that's true. Anyway, yes. I only met him the one time. There wasn't anything remarkable about him. After we finished, he got all emotional about his wife, but I could hardly understand what he was saying. I hate it when they cry afterwards.
Are you familiar with Reggie Willingham?
Oh, him? He had to be banned from here.
Really? What happened?
He got way too rough with one of the girls. She ended up shy a few teeth.
Dear Lord.
Yeah, apparently he wasn't too fond of boundaries. Good riddance to him, I say.
Were you aware that Mr. Willingham was murdered?
What? Oh, well, now I feel terrible for saying good riddance. I meant...
I think I know what you meant, Ruby. It's fine.
Is it me, or is there a pattern starting to emerge here?
Did you ever meet a man named Burley Cause?
No, I never met him, but one of the other girls had him as a client. I remember because she was laughing about his name. He wasn't very burly, if you get my meaning.
Right. Do you know Ennis Bowditch?
Bowditch? Didn't think I'd be hearing that name again.
As I understand it, he was seeing your friend, the serving girl at the ruined coffee house.
Yeah, that's right. Annabelle. She broke things off with him a while ago, though.
So she said. Did you ever know him to be violent?
Violent? The bastard nearly beat Annabelle's brains in once. Why do you think she chucked him?
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
At least she had the good sense to get rid of him.
Perhaps we should go confirm this newly discovered fact with Annabelle.
Did you ever have a client named Hannibal Kirkland?
No, that name doesn't sound familiar. Sorry.
How long have you been in this business?
Only a few months now. Used to work at a kitchen, but then they brought in some of those new automated machines.
Ah, sadly familiar story.
At least this profession isn't in any danger of being made obsolete by steam tech. Cold steel can never replace a warm touch.
Let's just hope that's true.
I'll just leave you to it then.
Thanks, love.
Begging your pardon, miss.
How can I help you, sir?
I spoke with your friend Ruby. She told me something quite disturbing.
What was that?
She said that Ennis had fits of violence, and that the reason you ended your relationship was because he hit you.
Why would she tell you that? That was my secret to tell, not hers. I thought we were friends.
It's obvious she cares about you and was worried about your well-being.
Well, it hardly matters now Ennis is dead, does it?
But is it true? Did he raise his hand to you?
Yes. It is true. As I said before, something changed in him. I have no idea what, but I had to get away.
I see. Thank you for your honesty. I'm sorry you had to experience what you did. I'll let you get back to work.
Thank you, sir.
May I ask you a few questions, Serafina?
Of course you may, but I can't guarantee the answers will be free.
Could you tell me about the young lady in the portrait hanging in the back room?
That's Lily Peterson. She was a wonderful woman and a great friend.
What happened to her?
It's a rather tragic story, Mr. Fordham. I'd rather not go into too much detail. The short version is this. She was with a client who got very carried away. She was able to defend herself enough to mortally wound the bastard, but the damage had already been done. The girls and I decided among us that we would rename this establishment in her honor. Some days it's still hard to believe she's gone. I haven't even been able to get rid of her box of things.
I'm very sorry for your loss, Serafina.
Thank you, dear. It was especially awful given Lily's past. Her sister died at the hands of her own husband some 16 years before. Some people just can't escape tragedy, no matter how far they run.
Something tells me these deaths are significant. It might be a good idea to learn as much as we can about Lily Peterson.
Do you know anything about the Justice Killer?
I'm afraid not, dear. I don't normally associate with killers.
Are you sure you don't know anything? He's the reason I'm here.
Well, I can assure you I know nothing about your murderer. If the trail has led you here, it's surely just coincidence.
She seems awfully certain of that. It's a good thing we don't believe in coincidences.
Thank you for your time.
Of course, my dear.
Chief Snelling?
Yes, Fordham?
Do you recall a murder involving a woman named Lily Peterson about a year ago?
Lily Peterson? Yes, that name does sound familiar. Of course, the prostitute murder. That wasn't one of yours, was it?
No, it wasn't. Do you remember any other details?
As I recall, the woman was beaten severely by one of her clients, who escaped and was never found. She died a few days later in the hospital. How is this of any relevance, exactly?
That's what I'm trying to piece together. Did you know that Lily Peterson had a sister who was killed some 16 years ago?
I didn't. Are you suggesting that's related somehow?
I think it is. Would you be able to get me the case file?
What was the victim's name?
That's what I'm trying to find out.
That might be a bit more difficult, unless you can give me more details.
I'll try my best.
Very well. What year did you say the case was from?
It was 16 years ago, so 1828.
Right. And who was the detective assigned to the case?
I believe it was Bill Legere.
Very well. And what was the victim's official cause of death?
It was a stabbing.
All right. I'll have a look and see if I find anything. There's nothing I can see that matches the information you gave me. I suggest you get your details in order before you attempt to waste my time again.
We've exhausted her.
So, Ruby,
Yes?
Serafina told me that Lily's possessions are still here. Do you know where they're kept?
Yeah, in that cabinet over there. Lily had a special place in Serafina's heart. I don't think she has the nerve to get rid of this stuff yet.
Do you think I could take a look through it?
Oh, I don't know.
Serafina never has to know. I promise I'll only look, not touch.
If I had a crown for every time I'd heard that. But, alright. As long as you keep your word and don't take anything from the box, I'll let you have a look. I'll get it for you after.
I'll just leave you to it then.
Thanks, love. There you go. All yours for the browsing.
I'm guessing this is where most of the girls... One of 3 buttons with an engraved lily on it. I wonder if they're just decorative or if they have some other purpose. Well now, I think we just found ourselves a bonanza. A cheap ring. Must have had sentimental value because otherwise there'd be no point in keeping it. These don't look too valuable. Nice scarf, impressively clean too. Lily clearly took care of her things. Let's see what we have in here. It's kind of sad that Lily kept that letter all these years. Guess she never really got over her sister's death. It's kind of sad that...
Chief Snelling?
Yes, Fordham?
I really need to take a look at that case file for Lily Peterson's sister.
I can find it for you, provided you give me enough details. What year did you say the case was from?
It was 16 years ago, so 1828.
Right. And who was the detective assigned to the case?
It was Lester Barnett.
Right. He was quite active in those days. And what was the victim's official cause of death?
It was strangulation.
All right. I'll have a look and see if I find anything. Ah, yes. Here we are. This should be a match. Have a look.
So we have our killer's last name and possible first name, assuming he's the same man Linda Walker talked about. Perhaps it's time to ask about him at the docks.
You again? What do you need?
A few more questions, if you don't mind. Do you know a man named Samuel Collins?
Yes, I do. He's one of my workers.
Is he working today?
No, it's his day off. Why do you ask?
I'm very interested in speaking with him. Could you tell me where I can find him?
I don't just give out information on my men to strangers. What reason do you have for wanting to speak with him?
I believe he may be involved in some serious crimes.
Is that right? And what are these serious crimes, exactly?
I believe Samuel's the justice killer.
What? That's absolutely preposterous. You've got quite some imagination, sir. And here I thought you were serious.
About Samuel Collins?
Yes? What about him? You've made a rather lofty accusation. What exactly is it he's done?
I believe he's stealing money from you and your business.
What? Do you have proof of this?
No, I guess I don't.
Stop wasting my time, then!
About Samuel Collins?
Yes? What about him?
I believe he stole...
What?
The Hanbrook Flower Shop. He stole several orders of Easter lilies.
The Hanbrook Flower Shop? They're not one of my customers. I only sell to wholesalers.
A minor detail. The point remains that your man's a burglar.
That's quite a serious claim. What proof do you have?
You can hear it straight from the man who works at the shop that was burgled.
Well, where is he then?
Wait here just a moment. Excuse me, Mr. Hastings?
What is it, Detective? As I said, I'm rather busy.
I was wondering if you might help me with something. Could you please tell the shipping manager over there about the burglaries at your flower shop?
Certainly.
Go ahead, Mr. Hastings.
Right. It all started around 5 months ago. And he didn't come around again after that night.
Thank you, Mr. Hastings. That'll do. Now are you convinced?
Fine. I hate to lose 2 of my men in such a short amount of time. But if he's done wrong, I can't just stand by. Samuel lives in Chumley, at 210 Abattoir Row.
Thank you, sir. You may have just saved several lives.
But I'm going to have to spend several crowns in order to get things back to normal. Now, if you'll excuse me...
Samuel Collins?
Yes?
I'm Terrence Shackley from the Labor Department. I wanted to ask you some questions about your employer at the docks.
Oh, of course. Please come in. I'm sorry, what did you say your name was?
Terrence Shackley? But it's not my real name. I just used it to get into your apartment. I believe you did something similar at the Houses of Parliament with Mr. McDonough.
So, you're Fordham, the one who was snooping around at the Gilded Lily.
Indeed. We meet again, Mr. Collins.
Of course. The rooftop. I'm sorry about what happened to your partner. It wasn't my intent for him to die.
Oh, he's sorry, is he? Is that supposed to make things better?
I suppose this encounter was inevitable. But I admit I didn't think it would be this soon. So, you're here to arrest me.
That's right. Samuel Collins, I'm placing you under arrest for the murders of Percival McDonough, Burley Cause, Ennis Bowditch, Hannibal Kirkland, and Reggie Willingham.
Oh, please. Every one of those men deserve what they got.
Nobody deserves to be shot in the head.
I'm sure your feeling would change if your wife was violated. Surprised I know about her? After our first encounter, I did my own investigation. I had to know what kind of man you were. You were innocent of any wrongdoing. Otherwise, we would have met much sooner.
I understand your reasons, but that doesn't mean your actions were justified. You need to pay for your crimes, one way or another.
My crimes? What about theirs? If not for me, they would have gotten away with them.
There are other ways of upholding justice, Collins. Ways that don't involve mass murder.
The system is broken. Criminals get away all the time, you know that.
Only too well.
But you comprehend my situation. You understand my reasons for doing what I do.
Understanding is not the same as approval.
But it is the first step.
Is this bastard really suggesting what I think he is?
All I ask is that you allow me to continue my work in peace.
You asked me to look the other way once before, and I refused.
Yes, and it cost your partner's life.
Well, this time it's just you and me, and I'm still not going to let you off. You're out of your mind if you think I'm going to just let you keep killing.
Damn right, Miles. This has to end.
Then you leave me no choice.
Fordham, are you all right?
Yes, I'm fine. Thank God you're a better shot than I was.
So, this is our justice killer?
That's right.
I suppose congratulations are in order. You did well in finding him.
Thank you, Chief Snelling. I'm glad we were finally able to work together.
Yes. Well, I'm glad you weren't so brash as to confront him without notifying me first. Perhaps there is hope for you yet. Now then, I'll go get the other officers so we can lock down the scene and remove the body. Wait here.
Quite a night, eh, Bill? Bill? Are you there? Bill?
It's good of you to do this, Miles. Do you need some time alone?
If you wouldn't mind.
All right. I'll wait for you over by the sycamores.
So, it's finally over. I have to admit, it's been strange not hearing you all the time anymore. Never in a million years did I think I would actually miss it. But the important thing is you've moved on, and I got what I was looking for. I'm starting up my own private detective agency, you know. Addie and Upton are going to be my partners. It should be interesting, to say the least. Oh, that reminds me. I brought you a little something. It's not much, but I thought you might appreciate it. Thank you for all your help, Bill. I truly would have been lost without it. Bill, wake up! Your grave is on fire! Well, I thought it was funny. Goodbye, old friend. I love you.